Hello, welcome to a punter's guide, a very special one because it's officially the end of the flat season. Now, it's still got a few more weeks to go yet, but this is what it's all about, Jason. It's Champions Day, but again, the ground has been what everyone's been talking about. Storm Babette has had an effect and done plenty of the wet stuff on Ascot this week.
Yeah, that was always going to be the call, wasn't it? Look, we're old enough to remember when this used to be run at Newmarket on the chalk base at the back end where we had the mile and a quarter straight. Obviously, with the round course in operation at Ascot for a lot of the big races, it's going to. They've always sort of had that contingency plan as to whether they can switch around and go on the inside track. That will mean different dimensions. Some of the older riders may well be at a benefit and remember riding the old Ascot the way it was. Some of the younger jockeys, it will have a completely different feel around there. But let's hope the spectacular goes really, really well because we've been treated to a stellar lineup.
We certainly have again. Yeah, so let's get stuck into it. The long distance cup then is the opener. Talking to still a lineup. Trushan back for more, looking for his fourth win in the race. We've got Kyprios in here as well. Coltrane, Sweet William. Hopefully the dead eight do go to post. And it's a decent opener.
Yeah, it's an absolute stormer. I mean, when you think, as far as Trushan, he really did look dead in the water, didn't he? You know, we remember that huge weight carrying performance up in the Northumberland Plate, and maybe it just left its mark. And I thought, oh, we're never going to get him back to where he was. He basically ran away at Doncaster and managed to win. They changed the gadget. They gave him some power steering like that Ferrari that you drive. And Holly was able to make him really tractable on the way round when he won the Cadran the other day. That meant that he's not one-dimensional. Kyprios, 4-6 failure when he was beaten by Eldar Eldarov last time. I think it sets up for an absolute super matchup. It's going to be Holly Doyle and Ryan Moore going at it up the straight. I think it'll be Trushan.
Trushan then to continue his little bit of a revival this season. From the stayers then to the sprinters, we've got the champion sprint. We've had some shocks in this down the years. A decent field, but I'd say I think only soft ground horses need apply, and that brings Frankie's favourite Kinross, who he probably will be the shortest price of his 5 rides on his final farewell.
Yeah, and I think he was arguably a little bit unlucky. I think this steward's got it right over in France in the Foray, not to turn it around. But I did think that they were a bit wrong to dismiss it out of hand. I think it wanted a bit of back and forth between the riders because he did get shortened up for room late on. That was over the 7. We know that he's bidding to go back to back in here, but there's every reason to expect him to. He's the shorty on the card. Is he going to be the one that Dettori sprinkles that bit of stardust and gives us the flying dismount? Possibly. I think that Kinross is definitely the pick if you like a shorty. When you go through all of the others, people will try and make a case for a Vadream, a Sandrine, horses like that who've got strong bits of form. I have to say the one that has snuck right under the radar there at a huge price, had 3 runs for the new stable, a win at the Royal Meeting, close up in a Group 1 over in France, disappointed on a speed favouring track at Haydock last time, where we can sort of take that form with a pinch of salt if you weren't up with the pace. St. Lawrence, I cannot believe he's out there at 30, 40 to 1, something like that. He represents a huge each-way value. Kinross, I think, will win. But the one I look at the prices, I think St. Lawrence is wrong.
Interesting then. St. Lawrence, a big price. Could be a good day then for Holly Doyle. She's got previous on Champions Day. And that leads us on nicely then to the fillies and mares, with a couple been supplemented in this as well. For the 14 do go to post. And again, Frankie will have a chance on a free wind. But again, ground will be key in this one.
Yeah, I think so. And another thing that everybody who's in the shops now up and down the country, you have to be so aware. You're going to be reading in the form that this horse ran or did run really well over at Longchamp on the Arc weekend, and it will be down in the paper as good to soft ground. It was not good to soft ground, and that is the thing that will throw everybody off. Free wind. She comes back in here after running an absolute stinker, may well perform better under her ideal conditions. When you go through all the others, Time Lock would be sort of the superstar send-off, wouldn't it, for the Roger Charlton team as he disappears off and hands over to his son. But Jackie O has definitely been hoodwinking the team, I think, because they've campaigned her as a speedy miler, if you like. They've only recently stepped her up to the 1.25 miles, the 10 furlongs, and now she finally steps up to 1.5 miles. For all the world, I think it's going to suit her, and she's probably not at her ceiling just yet.
Jockey, then yeah, she won a storming inch over at Longchamp. Right, it is Champions Day. It is all about the champions, but the 2 feature races do come up next, starting with the QE2 over the mile. And we know Paddington will handle conditions. Doing well sounded a warning about Tahira. The ground is done for Inspiral. She's not going to turn up. A couple of the French ones have been well backed, unsurprisingly. But it is all about Paddington back down to a mile.
Yeah, that will be something that everybody will take into consideration. And they'll say, because of the drop back to the mile, he should turn the form around with Nashwa. Now, remember, speed favouring track at York. Look back at the weights. Nashwa had to give Paddington £4 on that occasion. They now race off levels. And yes, they're coming back down 1/4 mile. But remember how dominant she was in the Falmouth, given some dig in the ground. So backing trip is ideal. That's the reason they've decided to come here and not stretch her out over the 1.25 miles. And look, you could make a case for any number of the others, but is really a Rogue Millennium, a High Royal, Epictetus, Chaldean, if you like. He would need to bounce back, but he's gone disappeared the last couple of times, and Big Rock as well for France. But look, I think it's a massive matchup between the top 2, Nashwa and Paddington. I think Nashwa will come out on top. The only one who's possibly flying under the radar, Angel Blur. I'll be looking at him at a bit of a price, but yeah, Nashwa, the mighty mare for Gosden. Could that be the one that seals the Trainers' Championship?
Yeah, that's all up in the air, isn't it? John Gosden, Aidan O'Brien going for that. It could be a very good day then for Holly Doyle, another selection of hers. And that leads us on to the Champion Stakes, of course. The 9 going to post. We've got last year's winner, Bay Bridge, in here as well. We've got Frankie's final ride we expect on King of Steel. And this French horse, Horizon Door, is very impressive at Longchamp. Champion by name, and we could be producing a champion by nature as well.
Yeah, and you said Horizon Door. I looked through the form. It's strong and he's improving, but I don't think that it's absolutely the top level as yet, and needs a career best coming in here. So possibly one of those who's going to be a false favourite. Now, we come onto the ground conditions. If it's riding really testing, you've got super horses like Dubai Honor, who's an absolute tractor when the mud is flying. When it gets quicker, he's not as good. Mostadaf, it's the other way for him. He wanted us riding as quick as possible. We know how good he was. We've seen how good he was at the Royal Meeting as well, that he has to come into the equation. And you're at the top, Bay Bridge, bidding to maintain back-to-back victories. Slightly disappointing, but quicker ground over at the Arc. Got to be King of Steel, hasn't it? We've only seen him on limited occasions. So we've got the trip we think is perfect. The track we think is perfect. The ground is not a problem, and he gets that sprinkling of stardust on top with Frankie Dettori. Oh my word, never mind, I think a flying dismount. He might moonwalk off the back end of him and do a triple salco and spot it in the winner's enclosure at Ascot. So yeah, I think King of Steel could be the one.
I expect a big market move on King of Steel just before the off. Of course, Frankie's final ride in the country, and he may just well do that if King of Steel is successful in the Champion Stakes. What a way to sign off that would be, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be absolutely spectacular. It's a wonderful race, you know, and the more you look at it, and it's hard to say this, but Roger Varian, if he wants to step up into the top level and be judged exactly the same as a John Gosden, as an Aidan O'Brien, as one of those champion trainers, as a Charlie Whittingham, this is what he's got to do. Produce this horse on the biggest stage. He's got the best form. Why won't he go and win?
Yeah, it's certainly that. And say so many stories. And Frankie sign off at Ascot with a victory. Is it written in the stars? Right, let's have a look at the Balmoral then. The one for the punters, 20 runners spread across the mile here. And, well, lots of these have got forming group races as well. It's a brilliant way to end it, isn't it? A big field handicap.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, Docklands and Hayley Turner, he's bound to be popular towards the top of the market. When you go down through them, they've all been running in these top races, haven't they? You know, Bo Pedro, Ross Scolin. We've seen them in all the heritage handicaps all the way. Now, hasn't it been a quiet season for young Kieran Fallon? He did us a favour at York last week on Montasib, and it nearly looks like Haggis has just kept him back and has been cherry-picking a few rides for him. He's bringing his career along steadily. He was brilliant at York in a big field. He's got Latam in here. Remember him winning the Cambridgeshire. He's won up at Newcastle since. Last time he was on a speed favouring track at York, was never any nearer than right on top of the line. And now he gets a true test over the mile again. He's a bit of a family horse. You could fit all of them on him. He's massively long and needs a real long galloping straight like Ascot to be at his best. So I looked at the prices again, 20-1, somewhere around there. Latam, he's a big each-way player.
Yeah, start the season with an Irish Lincoln win. Could he sign off with a Balmoral success? We'll find out tomorrow. That is Champions Day looked at. Just a quick one as well. We mentioned the trainer's title. Gosling O'Brien still in the mix. Obviously, William Butte will be crowned champion jockey. We've not had the season we've become accustomed to, there's a few winners abroad, but those juveniles that he won last week will keep him warm for the winter. Yeah,
of course. It's the new stock that are coming through. They had a point, didn't they? You know, where Adayar, the petrol ran empty. We had Modern News. We had horses that literally just fell off the side of a cliff and never really reproduced when we thought he was going to be super strong in that division. So he reloads and he goes again. Remember, the Breeders' Cup is just around the corner. They're bound to be strongly represented at that venue as well. And with the Trainers' Championship on the line, could it be the very first time that a father-son combination lift that Trainers' Championship? That is what Gosden and Thady are trying to do at the moment. So it's all to play for this weekend. And of course, as it runs on, but this is the big money arena, if you like.
Yeah, certainly is. Right, just before I let you go, then 6 selections you've given us, which will be the strongest of them. Guess it may be one of Hollydale's you've tipped up to win half the card.
Yeah, look, I think Holly's going to have a great time. Obviously, I mentioned St. Lawrence. He's just a big price. I think Vittoria will win there. It's going to be a good day for him. With my punting hat on, it's got to be Latam in the last, right? He'll love a strong mile. He's 20-1. I've weighed up all the options, the way that he runs, the ground, everything in his favour. And obviously the jockey, buoyed by a big success last week with Montasib. Need that bit of confidence. A young Fallon in the drive at Ascot.
There you are then, Latam, the best bet in the lucky last on the card. Thanks, Jason, once again for joining us in dissecting Champions Day. Let's hear from our ambassador, Richard Kingscote. Then he's got 2 big rides, Helm Rock in the Balmoral. But of course, we started talking off about last year's champion, Bay Bridge, looking to retain his title in the big one. Well, Richard, Bay Bridge, you're back on him. Can history repeat itself? Fingers crossed in the Champion Stakes at Ascot.
Yeah, I think it'd be no shock if he were to win. Would it? You know, he's got the form in the book. Obviously, he'll like the ground, which has, been plaguing us really a little bit this year. We've struggled to get him onto some of his favoured ground. And of course, the French horse brings a very progressive profile, but my horse is a tough horse. He ran well in France with, a lot not going well. So hopefully we can just dot all the I's and cross the T's for him and, get a day on where everything goes nicely for him.
We know he actually's been there. He's done it. What about that Arcon? I mean, he was keen early, but the ground was lively enough for him as well. He did well to finish 6th in the end.
Yeah, he did actually run very well. I wasn't disappointed with him at all. Yeah, obviously a bit of daylight early. I let him jump because obviously we wanted to get a nice handy pitch. So he likes to be ridden. So yeah, we weren't very, we just weren't very economical really the whole way through. Back to 10 tomorrow, today. He will be, much happier.
And switching to the inner track, obviously there's still plenty of rain, but will that suit him as well? Because the ground, it won't be bottomless now on there, but they still have plenty of rain to make it on the soft side.
Yeah, I think either way, it's going to be slow ground, which he likes. When we've never said he needs bottomless ground. He's not, he's never run on dreadful bottomless ground, but he just likes some give. So hopefully it'd be a fair service for all. And as I say, I hope we can bring some of what we know we can do.
I mean, there's so many stories in there. We've got Horizon Dawn, the improvers. You mentioned Frankie's last ride, of course, on King of Steel. But you're looking to write a bit of history himself and go back to back.
Yeah, and I think it looks a race where he really could. I'm looking forward to him. Obviously, we're drawn out a little bit, which, isn't perfect, but it's not a massive field. So hopefully we can sort something out and get a nice run round for him.
It's a big part, and also there's a big part in the Balmoral as well, the final race on the card. You're on board Helm Rocket, who has been a model of consistency this season.
Yeah, he's done really well this year, but then goes with that is he's on a career high mark. Whether he can cope with that, I don't know. He's really improved since we started being a bit more patient with him in his races, and he seemed to have really appreciate that, which suits Ascot straight, and he won't mind the ground. I saw Dan the other day and he was quite pleased it was raining. So, if he turns up with his best, he can get in the mix. Whether off that career high mark he can be winning, it's hard to tell, but he deserves to. He's been, as you say, very consistent.
Yeah, it will be very tested on the straight course, but he's won on the all-weather, and the horses who win on the all-weather do seem to transfer their form well to this Ascot straight course.
Yeah, I think, as I said, things should work out well for him. We used to be quite forceful with him, and as I said, now we are just letting him find his feet early in the race and letting him follow. He's really appreciated it and backed up some nice wins. Won the all-weather final at Kempton 2 starts ago, and he's a tough horse, and I enjoy riding him. He's one of them. He's probably one of the sort of rides you like to ride. Very sensible, does everything you want him to do, and always runs his race.
Oh, best luck with those. They are the final 2 races officially of the British flat season. So just review your season as a whole, and a couple of horses obviously that we're looking forward to going into the winter. Looking forward to head to riding next summer.
Yeah, it's been a strange year really. Prize money's been one of my best ever bar last year with the 2 Group 1s. So on that front, we're doing great. Percentages, which I like to be up, aren't my best. So I need to improve upon that for next year. But got some good link ups with Ahmed Al Sheikh, still riding for Sir Michael. Clive Cox has put me on some nice horses this year. As you said, one to look forward to would be Ghostwriter. He's done everything so well this year, really impressive at Newmarket. So he's the sort of horse you like to have in the back of your head through the winter. And it's been a good year, but I've lacked a little bit of flow. And speaking to a few lads, they've been in similar boats. So I think I can definitely do better next year.
Well, maybe you're just saving the best for last. Best of luck then with Baybridge to retain his champion stakes crown. Best of luck with Helm Rock in the Balmoral as well. And thanks for everything this season as well. So he's the official end, but there's still a few weeks of the flat season still to go all the way through to Doncaster, the November handicap, of course. But thanks to Richard then, his thoughts on his rides. Thanks to Jason for his picks on Champions Day, wherever you're back in this weekend. Of course, as always, the very best luck, and please gamble responsibly.